In this video, I'd like to talk to you about the external factors that must be in place for the IPCS, or the Integrated Production Control System, to work, and for us to be able to implement takt, last planner, and scrum as a part of the overall framework. And this applies in project planning, to the production plan, and when we're implementing with trade partners on the actual project site as well. So here they are, and I got this from the books The Fifth Discipline and Thinking in Systems by Donella Meadows. And these are great books that talk about systems thinking, meaning instead of looking at something as a component, you look at it as a system. And if you have a good superintendent and you have a bought-in company leadership team and you don't have a corporate scheduling director that's trying to get in the way, the only other thing in my mind that could really go wrong with this process is if you don't have these external factors. So let me talk to you about them one by one. The first external factor is the power to see the paradigm. And a paradigm is a perspective. And I want to give you a little bit of a story from the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. He gave a story about how he was on, I think it was a train or a bus or a subway. I'm not sure that matters, but he was sitting there and there was this father with a bunch of boys and they were all over the place on the train, and he was thinking to himself, wow, how disrespectful. And he said to the man, hey, do you think you could keep your kids under control? And the father turned to him and said, I'm sorry, I really should be better in controlling them. We just got back from the hospital, their mother died, and we're not all understanding how to emotionally process it. So I'm sorry, sir, we're a bit of a mess. I will gather them. And so what he said in the example was his perspective, his paradigm first was, wow, what a bad father with these disrespectful kids. His perspective, or his paradigm, once he knew the truth, was, oh my gosh, this man and these children are like emotionally traumatized and they don't know how to process this. They need compassion and love and kindness. And so that same paradigm shift needs to happen with owners, reps, designers, and company leaders. The paradigm is this: it has to shift from workers and foremen are stupid and trade partners are bad, and I need to just go get money and make a name for myself. We need to shift the paradigm to, hey, workers and foremen are brilliant. They are just absolutely crucial to the project. I value the trade partners and want them to make money. And this project is all about finishing on time while respecting people. And that paradigm has to shift. And if you have an owner, an owner's rep, or a design team, or company owners that don't understand that paradigm, your project has a high likelihood of going into a downward productivity spiral. The second one is mindsets and paradigms. Instead of the overall owner's rep, designer, and company leadership team paradigm, it's individual mindsets, right? If you have one, and people aren't bad, but I'll use the bad apple term. If you have one bad apple, maybe it's a grumpy superintendent, maybe it's a disrespectful project manager, maybe it's a grandstanding project director, maybe it's an owner's rep that's trying to make a name for himself. If you have one person with a bad mindset and a bad paradigm, then you will suffer, and especially if they have authority. If they have authority, they have the opportunity, I don't know if I want to call it the opportunity, but there's a high likelihood that they will infect the rest of the team. And even if everybody would have been bought onto lean, respect, and finishing on time, that bad apple can infect the rest of the apple cart. Number 3, the goal of the system. This one's actually pretty huge. Sometimes the goal of the project isn't to finish on time. Like, honestly, let me give you a couple of examples. I remember working with this massive healthcare provider, and there was an owner's rep that was trying to make a name for himself. I've mentioned that a little bit before. And he would like shove CPM down everybody's throat, really criticize from a budget standpoint, cut as many budgets as humanly possible, and then literally berate and blame the general contractor for things that weren't even their fault. The goal wasn't to finish the project on time. The goal was for him to look famous and to make a name for himself. If the goal really was to finish on time and respect people, he wouldn't grandstand, he wouldn't criticize and blame others, he wouldn't disallow the proper funding for key strategies, he wouldn't slash all of these budgets, he wouldn't hurt the project team, and he wouldn't be out there grandstanding. What he would be doing is saying, hey, contractor, what do you need? Let's partner. Let's become integrated. Let's be collaborative. Let's really own these things together. Let's prevent mistakes, right? So sometimes we're like, like, hey, the goal is to finish on time. The goal is to respect people. Maybe not. That's maybe not the goal. Let me give you another example. A superintendent that is always fighting fires and has everything in his head. The goal is not to finish on time. The goal is categorically, like 100%. The goal is for that superintendent to not learn, to not be transparent, to not share information, to not create stability, but rather to be a firefighter arsonist and create problems that only he can solve, which gives him significance, certainty, and connection, human needs that feed into the human ego. So the goal is not to finish on time, it's not to respect people, it's for that super to look important and special and to get significance from it. So we have to get really clear about this. The goal of the system and the goal of the project has to be understood, and we have to be on the same page, because if you don't, you can literally find yourself inside a project, inside a system where you think the goal is one thing, but it's really not. You're heading somewhere else. So always focus on what is the goal of this system. Number 4, what is the structure of the system? If you have literally structured this where you don't have enough people to cover your functional areas on your project site, if you've structured contracts that literally incentivize everybody to act like gangs in a fence with knives, like going at each other like in some kind of gang fight, if you have structured the project to where they don't have any time for pre-planning, like any one of these things could tank a project, and it all comes down to the structure. Another example would be forcing the general contractor to use CPM, forcing the contractor to overburden labor, making sure that there is no possible way to share or use float responsibly. And that ties me into number 5, the rules of the system. This project will not go well if you don't have the right rules. And I'll use that CPM example as the component number 5 as well, the rules of the system. Not only if you have the structure wrong can you tank the project, but if the rules are wrong. So again, rules, if you're behind, overburden labor. That's a bad rule. Hey, we want you to use CPM and you have to build from CPM. That's a bad rule. That's going to tank your project, right? You are not allowed to have additional staff for the general contractor for any change orders. You just have to deal with it with the staff that you have without any additional fee or any additional general conditions. That's a bad rule. If you have too many change orders, you're going to tank the project. So you have to look at the rules. So here's what I'm saying. You have to make sure that everybody sees the paradigm of respect for people and finishing, that you don't have any individuals with bad mindsets or paradigms, that the goal of the system or the project is actually to finish on time and respect people, that the structure of everything, the staff, the contracts, the organization, the trailer, the logistics are all set up for you to win in a lean way, and that the rules are not preventing you from doing the right thing. And if you have all of those and a really great superintendent, and you don't have a corporate scheduling director trying to get in the way, and you don't have an owner and an owner's rep that's trying to like literally make you do stupid things, like everything after that is under your control, and you're going to win with this system. So I just encourage you to look at that right now and see if there's any changes that need to be made, because most of the time there are adjustments that can be made and there are no's that can be said, because I'll tell you, and people don't connect with this all the time, The people say, Jason, this is unrealistic, right? Like you're asking me to do something unrealistic. And I'm like, well, not exactly. I've been there, and this is not a rant, this is not a lecture. I respect you, and so I'm trying to like support you. I have been there when somebody says, we don't need time for pre-con. And I'm like, we do, and I'm not gonna do this job without the pre-con time, right? I've been there when somebody said, hey, just go ahead and screw the other contractors into a bad situation. And I said, no. I've been there when people are telling me to rush at the end of the project and to start increasing work in progress above capacity of resources. And I said no. I've been there. I could keep going on and on. But saying no does actually work. Oh, you expect me to be in every zone all the time and rush and push and get 3 more crews? No. You expect me to not plan the project? No. You expect me to like hurt people? No. You expect me to do the wrong thing? No. You expect me to like literally build off of a CPM schedule that the trade partners didn't have any part in creating? No. The answer is no. We do the right thing. And so please don't let these external factors affect you in a negative way. Please get what you need, and if you need help, reach out to us. We can help in most cases. And the goal here is, if you have these under control and you've got a good environment and you got a good super and nobody's standing in your way, we can implement every part of this and it works every time. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.